From the 101 Recap Book 1. Story and commentary for the movie Day 5. Jake's lighter breaks after a 2-day drug binge, and he is unable to locate another in the house. Jake ultimately steps outdoors since his roommate has refused to respond to his plea to borrow one. Upon arriving at the store, he finds everything completely disorganized and unmanned, so he pays for the lighter with some cash and departs. When he eventually realizes that no automobile or person is on the streets on his way back, he figures it must be Christmas. It's revealed that this is day 2 of the incident, when he gets to the park and discovers there are no birds there either. Jake is startled to discover a dead body beneath a park bench when he smells something foul out of the blue. He checks again, then pulls out his phone to dial 911, only to find another dead on a different bench. Fearful, he flees to his family's residence, but they won't let him in, so he has to enter through the back door. After learning with dismay that his father and stepmother have passed away, he goes upstairs to check on his half-sister, but she isn't in her room. He is so terrified that when he tries to use his phone again, a recorded message warning of a national emergency and advising people not to go to sleep plays. He arrives at the living room to discover a blanket fort, signifying a sleepover. When Jake peeks inside, he discovers the deaths of both his sister and her friends. Jake, rattled, rushes outside and throws up, then tries to chalk it up to the drug overindulgence. Sam abruptly interrupts him, telling him that everything is real and cautioning him from falling asleep since it is the way people are dying. They begin hanging around and breaking into abandoned houses to have fun after that, using adrenaline shots to keep themselves awake. They also become friends with several other survivors, Lily and Rachel, who by day 5 have already lost all self-control. The gang eventually decides to save the injections and starts using Sam's ADHD medication. They are kept awake by it, yet their bodies are obviously suffering from not getting enough sleep. Every time Lily has a full-blown screaming dispute with a phantasm, Rachel tries to console her. Lily eventually nods off after Rachel leaves the room for a mere 2 seconds one day. Jake tries giving her an injection to wake her up, but nothing occurs. Rachel has a complete collapse and starts pointing out how medications are no longer effective, similar to what happened with cigarettes and coffee. After determining that they require a larger dosage, she gets in her car and drives off, leaving Jake and Sam to cover Lily's body with a twister mat. The boys use another car to follow Rachel once they realize she's gone with the bag that held all of their medication. Jake nods off as they accelerate down the road, forcing Sam to take over the wheel and bring the vehicle to a stop. Then, Sam shoves Jake into the passenger seat, takes over the wheel, and starts driving erratically while pursuing Rachel once more. He snatches a screwdriver and stabs Jake in the leg in an attempt to keep Jake awake as well. Jake is startled out of sleep by this, and wonders if the airplane he sees in the sky is real. Sam tries to evade the airplane and stop the automobile just in time to avoid crashing when it appears around the corner just as their car is finally going to catch up to Rachel. Ellis, the pilot, tells the guys that he has seen 8 cities in 3 days and that this is the first time he has seen a child when the guys go to check on him later. Now that the plane is broken, Ellis offers the boys some of his medication and consents to accompany them to the closest hospital. When they arrive, they discover a number of survivors as well as the bodies of numerous sick people. Dr. Ally administers some adrenaline to them, tends to Jake's wound, and says she has been trying to investigate the situation but has not yet found any answers. Ellis tells his story after reviewing the health records to make sure everyone passed away at the same moment. He was operating the aircraft at the time of the event, and a medical passenger who managed to stay conscious attested to the fact that everyone perished instantly at the same moment as Ally's patients. Ellis traveled to other places and consistently observed people in a panic as reporters reported the same time of death. In Newark, however, someone reported 2 extra seconds. With an idea in mind, Ellis took off faster and checked every facility, noting a 1 per second difference in every estate. He is attempting to determine the location of origin by counting down the numbers, and it must be somewhere west from there. Ally, Sam, Jake, and Sarah's buddy decide to accompany him in his search for the solution. The incident is then depicted from Ally's point of view in a flashback. The night shift raced to help the ailing patients who were beginning to die in their beds, but nothing was helping. Day 2 saw Ally begin to limit the medication and assist the staff in staying awake as they continued to receive calls from people in need of assistance, and were examining the remains in an attempt to find any clues. On Day 3, Ally is heartbroken to learn that, after leaving in her car in the hopes of finding someone, Dr. Lex never returned or returned calls from the radio. Returning to the present, Ally keeps checking the car radio out of caution. Sarah gives the group some ghost peppers, which are extremely fiery and keep everyone awake because the group can't stop yawning. After several hours of driving, they notice a large cloud of smoke and are disappointed to learn that the nearby hospital has burned down, making it impossible for them to access the records. They go to the police station since Jake remembers that this is an old-fashioned town, and that's where the morgue is kept. They are startled to discover a full rave with all kinds of revelry going on at the station. A man barricades them from entering the morgue and demands a password. The group is permitted inside after Ellis threatens him with violence, but Sarah wishes to leave the celebration early. As he keeps an eye on her, Jake gives the others the all-clear. While the two dance, Ellis and Ally look over the records and see that the death occurred 1 second earlier than expected. They then begin to cross out information on a map to locate Dallas, their next stop. When Sam discovers the body drawers, he witnesses a raver selecting a victim to sleep and eventually giving up. Jake starts chasing his sister throughout the building after seeing a hallucination of her at that point. A blonde raver tells they are hosting the party there due to all the drugs the police have seized over the years. When Jake sees his old pipe inside, he flees as the woman blows some happy powder in his face. Jake is uneasy when he starts having hallucinations all over again and sees his sister in her whole room. This leads to a chat regarding Jake's family problems. Jake runs into another room as the sister begins to cry and the delusion vanishes due to a bright light. Sarah had a meltdown at the dance floor when she finally learns she's been left alone and that she misplaced her medication-filled rucksack. Coming full circle, Jake now has hallucinations of the day his sister visited him in prison and told him about his mother's passing. Jake is upset and starts screaming at his father for treating his mother badly. He breaks out of his delusion and leaves the house once more. He passes through the dancers before going into another hallucination in which he discovers his sister's lifeless body within the blanket fort and clings to her, expressing regret for abandoning her. When Sam finds him, he finally comes back to reality. They look for Sarah together and discover her dead on a chair. This significantly upsets Ally, who doesn't want to listen to Jake and accuses him of being the cause. Ellis declares that they don't trust him and that they want to walk away from him, but Sam stands up for Jake and persuades the others to stay together. After several hours, something finally gets through on the radio. Lex is announcing he has discovered the cure in Austin in a message. However, Ellis continues to search for the origin, so he departs by himself as Sam, Jake, and Ellis listen to the audio. Due to his late night for work, Dave was able to survive the incident the night before, according to another memory. After having to bury his dog the following morning, he began abusing drugs and drinking excessively while simultaneously checking several televisions in the hopes of finding any news. He began going insane, even punching a mirror, breaking his hand and discovering that pain kept him awake. On day 3, he continued to sustain many wounds. On the 4th day, Dave had walked out of the home and was covered in blood and nails. He ran after a young girl he saw on the street, shoved her to the ground, and beat the hell out of her. Rewinding to Ally's group, they are traveling down the road when Jake becomes sidetracked and strikes something by mistake, resulting in the car colliding with a tree. The boys take Ally out because she's bleeding and about to faint, and they squirt her with alcohol to keep her awake. Sam sees someone observing them from a bridge in the mirror as he dashes back to the car to look for water, but when he glances up, the figure has vanished. Jake discovers that they struck a person who had fallen from the bridge, which defies logic given that it is easier to pass away while you are asleep. Ally must be suffering from a concussion since she suddenly throws up and hears a high-pitched noise. As they take off, the guys support her weight and bandage her head. Jake believes there's no use dismembering a body, but Sam says he saw someone and wonders if it was a killer. When they finally arrive at a town after much walking, Ally throws up once more while hearing voices. As Sam tends to her, Jake goes in search of assistance, and is unnerved to discover a number of skulls dangling from trees. Additionally, he witnesses someone moving stealthily with a painted face, and as he tries to get away, a stranger with a mask blocks his path. Ally stumbles to the ground at the same moment, and nearly faints, but the skull people discover her in time. After being brought to a church, Ally is given some homemade medication that causes her to wake up right away. Father Julio apologizes for frightening the dead with his group's games and explains that they are participating in a festival commemorating the deceased. Julio introduces Sam to other children his age and extends an invitation for the group to stay for as long as they need. Ally examines the components of the medication and discovers that worms are among them, which explains why the drug tastes so bad. After Sam makes the acquaintance Carmen, she introduces him to a blind guy and his guide dog, who stays up all night to look after his owner. The kids start heading back to the party when it starts barking hysterically. Dave suddenly leaps on Carmen and stabs her, causing Sam to knock over a chair with his head. Dave flees as Julio opens fire before he can respond. Julio takes Carmen inside while a few people chase after him. Ally can't do much to help because the girl needs a surgeon, but she isn't one. Julio tries to calm her down, but as soon as she hears the high-pitched noise again, her head begins to hurt as well. Ally decides to assist after consuming some medication, and she asks Julio and Sam to restrain Carmen so that she can be stitched without the use of anesthetic. Meanwhile, Dave finds another youngster and kills him in a matter of seconds. Julio had to go fix the generator because the electricity abruptly goes off back in the church. After spotting some blood, he follows it to a door, where Dave emerges. Julio's revolver goes off in the dark during the ensuing altercation between the men as they hurl each other around the room. After hearing the shot, Ally, Sam, and Carmen accompany Carmen into the chamber containing the praying candles, where Dave discovers them. When he sees the dog in the room, he becomes sidetracked and wants to interact with it, but the dog flees. Dave is crying and prepared to strike when the dog brings Jake, who starts slapping Dave with a pipe right away. Then Julio reappears, healthy and relieved that the villain is no longer living. Julio is invited to accompany the gang as they prepare to depart in a new vehicle early the following morning. Julio declines, stating that he dispatched 2 individuals to Austin 2 days ago, but they never returned or phoned. Julio hands out his revolver to Jake as a parting gift. Ellis eventually arrives in Dallas, which appears to be flourishing in the meantime. Bill believes he sees a group of individuals in a nearby town who all of a sudden stop breathing, but it's all in his head, and he simply keeps moving. He and his girlfriend Nicole leave the town at some point, and when they stop at a gas station, they witness a man come and then get shot out of nowhere. The couple ducks behind a car as the gunfire continues, and Bill tells Nicole to watch the mirror while he gets to his feet to draw the sniper's next shot. Nicole is able to determine which window in the adjacent building the gunfire originated from, and Bill manages to conceal himself once more in time. At that moment the lights go out, and a man opens the door of the gas station, so the couple rushes to meet him as they dodge another bullet. The pair first encounters Ellis, who is collaborating with hacker Jeffrey, after the door has been locked. It was he who turned off the electricity. Ellis adds that they've been locked in the city for days because a bad person is shooting at everybody who attempts to get there. They then meet Beth, her husband Colin, her brother John, and they all share some injections. After learning where the sniper is, Ellis determines it's time to confront Bill and Nicole. Ellis and Colin ambush her and force her to retreat as one of them dashes outside to divert the sniper's attention. Meredith is her name, and she serves as a Marine. She tells Bill that she exclusively shoots psychopaths, and that's why she tried killing Bill and Nicole when she spotted them with the other guy. Bill gives her an injection. She moves fast to disarm Colin and Ellis because the group still doesn't trust her, and then she uses a hidden gun to kidnap Colin. They had no choice but to accept her request that they allow her to stroll freely and that she serve as her guide across Dallas so that they can discover the answers together. They then divulge the knowledge they possess. Before Bill passed away, Nicole and he had the ideal date. Jeffrey decided to follow a bird since it seemed to be a sign as it never stopped soaring. Beth's family traveled here because, on the night of the event, she received a call from a number that had the initials SC and the area code for Dallas. The voice warned against going to sleep just before the incident occurred. When Jeffrey tries to locate the number, he finds that even though it was operational an hour earlier, the internet is down. Bill simply consults the yellow pages and finds that the number corresponds to the initials of Sandy Creek Nursing Home, so they proceed there. Meredith discovers a security camera, so they watch the video even though the building is empty save for a number of dead bodies. To their surprise, no one perished at the scene of the event, and Beth doesn't recognize anyone. When Jeffrey informs out that hiding phone numbers with modern technology is simple, Ellis becomes so enraged that he smashes a TV. Bill notices something after this and looks at the footage once more. The emergency warning was there on TV right when the catastrophe happened, as if they were prepared for it. The party decides that the broadcast station will be their next stop. Nicole is about to nod off at that same moment, but they wake her up in time. Declaring that he has had enough, Bill tells the gang to continue on their own. Unexpectedly, Nicole is the one fading while Meredith pulls out her revolver and notes that Bill gave her his injection. She never actually witnessed Bill using anything to stay awake. Bill reveals that he suffers from deadly family insomnia, an uncommon ailment that will kill him in a year and prevent him from falling asleep. Delirium and hallucinations are also brought on by it. Even though Meredith believes he's the ideal candidate for missions at this time, he nevertheless decides to go with Nicole. After enjoying a wonderful meal and a movie at the theater, Nicole eventually lets go. Once at the station, the party wanders around in the dark until all of a sudden a bright light is turned on in their faces. Meredith fires the light to show that the man is bluffing when he threatens to open fire, as stated by a male voice. When they first meet news anchor Alonzo, he tells them the emergency warning was already on when he arrived at the station the night of the tragedy. He has been attempting to inform people with his team, who are now deceased, for the previous few days. Ellis makes Alonzo teach them how to shut off the station because he believes that the emergency signal is what is causing the deaths. Allies group arrives in Austin in the interim and makes a stop at an enigmatic building. Jake believes that after witnessing a number of individuals flee and guards shooting at them, Lex was tricked into sending a false message about a cure in an attempt to draw in more victims. They come up with a plan since Ally still wants to be certain. In an attempt to appear helpless and innocent, they approach the building in their underpants. 2 guards verify Lex is with them and grant them entry. Ally meets up with Lex again after sobriety and declares they are a couple. They kiss, but Ally also gives her a slap for going out without notifying her. After telling them about the treatment, Lex gives Sam an injection that puts him to sleep right away. He begins to dream about the night of the incident, when he watched a filthy movie until the wee hours of the morning. Soon after returning home, his father sent him to his room, where he fell asleep on the couch. Sam starts talking and moving while he sleeps, and Lex explains that this is a normal side effect of the medication. She'll take him outside in 10 minutes before things get serious, so it's not so much a treatment as a means of buying them some time. After Ally and Jake take a dose as well, Jake begins to dream about Sarah, who tries to teach him how to dance. The blonde raver and his sister interrupt them, demanding that he tells Sarah that he is to blame for her passing. His sister begins exposing bodies to him, including Sam and Lily, who accuses him of being responsible for her demise. Jake's body starts to shake and his heart rate starts to increase at that point. Ally and Lex attempt to steady him, but eventually his line becomes flat. Lex believes she has had enough as Ally pleads for him and pulls a gun to kill herself, but it turns out that Ally is dreaming of Ally. Everyone is okay and everything is okay when she wakes up. After that, Lex and a guard have a meeting with the extremely impolite boss, Dr. Abrams, who informs them he wants additional test victims. Abrams orders her to use force if necessary after the guard reveals that the previous time she went to the town to recruit volunteers, they weren't too fond of her presence. Alonzo uses a radio to direct Colin to the power switches and Jeffrey, John, and Colin to the generator back in Dallas. When the batteries run out, Ellis tries to turn everything off permanently by pushing a button, but all the doors lock and an alarm goes off, trapping the team. Even if Meredith tries to shoot the door, the lockdown is impenetrable. Alonzo escapes the room before the door shuts and searches for his cigarettes to help him endure the agony of being awake. He admits that he led them astray intentionally because he believes that people need his voice and that the broadcast shouldn't be stopped. Colin charges at Alonzo at that point and begins to beat him up, but Alonzo is able to seize a pen, stab his neck, and then use a mouse wire to choke him to death. John and Jeffrey flip the generator back on and open the doors with a strategy in mind. As Alonzo reads the news while seated in front of the camera, Beth shoots him in the head on national television. After that, Jeffrey damages the entire electrical system and eventually cuts the transmission. They must now choose who will go to sleep in order to test it. In a flashback, Jeffrey is seen hanging out with his pals following the incident, and witnessing the bird cawing at them from a table. Jeffrey offers to take the test, keeping this in mind for the moment. The others rush to give him an injection when he stops breathing and falls asleep quite quickly. Sadly, it has little effect, and Jeffrey passes away. Meredith runs after Beth to stop her when she decides to go to sleep because she's freaking out because John died for nothing. Ellis doesn't give up and keeps trying to figure out what's going on. John notes that the signal is now ghosting, caught in the satellites. They would need to take down the entire satellite network in order to truly halt it, and they could do so from the NASA Space Center in Houston. When Ellis goes to inform the women of the new strategy, he finds that John has been having hallucinations and is among them. Ellis consents to take them to a hotel so they can go out in style since Meredith has decided she also wants to sleep. A vengeful Slade is preparing his weapons back in Austin because he wants retribution on Abrams for killing his kid. Then, in an attempt to force the woman to reveal how to enter the facility, he kidnaps her and begins to abuse her with a hammer. Sam is told by Lex, who is testing his blood, that he has a mutation that causes him to sleep little. Sam offers to assist Lex when she reveals that Abrams has some more testing planned. Later, when Jake searches for Sam, he discovers a room containing boxes containing kid-sized clothing as well as accessories that belong to the guy's father Julio had brought. Concurrently, Ally is examining the test participants' X-rays and finds that the majority of them have childlike brains, which is strange considering she hasn't seen any children in the institution. Jake also walks in to show that the experiment is killing the kids, but Lex argues that it's only safe for the kids to participate and that it serves a higher purpose. After asking Lex about Sam, Ally and Jake dash to find him, interrupting Abrams' injection in time to inform the youngster of all the children who had died. Sam decides against volunteering and tries to walk away, but Abrams stops him and explains that his experiments cannot be held responsible for the fatalities because they are all going to die soon anyhow. When Abrams lets Sam go, a furious Jake threatens to beat him down with a fire extinguisher. However, when they turn around, Lex and 2 guards are blocking their path. Ally is angry to hear that Lex coerced Sam into doing this, but before they can talk about it, a shot is fired, alerting the security that a dangerous person has entered the building. Sam, Ally, and Jake are cornered by Slade after he shoots many guards as people flee throughout the building in fear. He freezes at the sight of a child, allowing them to get away. As the 3 flee, Slade tracks down Abrams, who attempts to argue that he wasn't actually responsible for any murders by using reason. After Slade screams at him for trying to divert his attention with flowery language and orders him to stop talking, Abrams scribbles on a piece of paper, saying things like, "You will kill the rest of your friends," and "Don't let your son die in vain." Slade puts down his weapon as Abrams suggests they may rescue humanity together, and extends his hand, only for Abrams to inject him with the new medication, killing him instantly. After the group exits the vehicle and gets inside, Lex approaches them to reiterate that the children would have perished regardless of what is being done for the greater good. When Ally asks Lex to accompany her, he pulls out a revolver and tells her to go back inside. Just then, Ally breaks up with Lex as Jake, who is also hiding behind her, pulls a revolver on her and swiftly disarms her. After the group leaves, Sam admits that he grabbed some medication, which should keep them up until they decide to travel to Dallas to see Ellis again. As for Ellis, he's in a motel recording a message for Ally's group and bidding adieu before preparing to get to bed with the others. Meredith wakes up the following morning, as she had anticipated. She sees Jeffrey's bird and speaks to it as though she knew it, telling it they're heading home, after making a radio call to a team that has been waiting for her. Day 5, 2016. A tense encounter with alien visitors. Day 5, 2016, is a low-budget science fiction thriller that throws a small group of characters into a tense situation with extraterrestrial visitors. Here's a breakdown. Explanation. The film follows Samantha, Ashley Rickards, and her friends as they wake up to find strange markings on their bodies and a mysterious blackout gripping their town. As they investigate, they encounter a group of seemingly benevolent aliens with hidden motives. The story unfolds over the course of a single day, focusing on the characters' struggle to understand the situation, survive encounters with the aliens, and make difficult choices. Criticism. Claustrophobic atmosphere. The film makes good use of its limited setting and budget, creating a suspenseful atmosphere with a sense of paranoia and uncertainty. Character-driven story. The small cast delivers strong performances, making the characters relatable despite the fantastical elements. Limited scope. The film's focus on a confined location and a short time frame might feel limiting for some viewers who crave a grander sci-fi spectacle. The ending leaves some questions unanswered. Moral. Day 5 explores themes of trust, deception, and the importance of human connection in the face of the unknown. It asks viewers to consider the potential consequences of encountering alien life and the challenges of communication across vast differences. The moral message is open-ended. Sometimes first impressions can be deceiving, and even in frightening situations, cooperation and trust can be essential for survival. Easy understanding. Imagine waking up to alien symbols on your body and a town-wide blackout. Day 5 is a suspenseful sci-fi thriller with a small cast, a single-day time frame, and a story that explores human connection and the challenges of understanding alien visitors.